first time ever.
Hear you loud and clearly.
And it was going place.
That stuff's great.
But the game is not a roguelike.
Boomer shooter.
Bang.
Hello, this is John St. John, and you're listening to KEEP in the Keep, bringing you all the hits from the finest in the world of gaming and entertainment. Now sit back and relax as the drowned god Cthulhu lulls your mind with the tastiest talk in town.
Welcome to another chapter of In the Keep podcast. I'm your very own prophet of the drowned god, the Motherload. The Keep is a collective of gaming enthusiasts compelled by the drowned god Cthulhu to frag and jib one another into oblivion for all eternity. Fuck, it's been like 100-something episodes since we last talked, dude. What the fuck?
Which episode was I even?
What were we even on? Hold on, inthekeep.com.
11. That's the magic number. 11.
Like, holy shit. So much has changed since then. It's crazy.
I mean, it's been
insanity.
it's been like 3 years or something. Or even more.
Like two.
Two.
Yeah, like, holy crap. You've done very little, because I haven't seen the game yet.
Yeah, because like I realized that like I started like doing devlogs, right? And then I realized slowly that the more I do them, the less I'm doing on the game. And yes, it is fun actually, doing devlogs. I even have like one devlog that's basically from Christmas, and it's just sitting there. Like I was with a Santa like costume. And I was talking to the people on Discord, like explaining them the whole new changes behind the green screen, everything. But it just showed me that like it took so much time just to prepare, record, and then when I started editing, I'm like, I'm gonna waste like probably a week just doing that, like or more even, and it won't be worth it at the end. And like I was thinking about like starting, like if I'm gonna do vlogs, I'm gonna do like the those short videos on YouTube, shorts, or whatever they're called. Yeah, that's what I was thinking about. I was thinking about like let's do something like that. And I was like, oh well, no one realms deep because Motherload just contacted me, so that's just out of the window. So I was like, okay, just go full stealth mode at this point. Work on your game. Show nothing. So nobody has any kind of expectations, or if they have some kind of expectations, they're really low because everything's outdated as fuck. And then you just slam them with the newest thing, And I mean, it's not a tactic. It's just normally like, I mean, it is kind of a tactic. Like I think Genghis Khan used that. Basically adjusting your, not enemies, but the people and the enemies to your liking, and then suddenly rushing them. I'm not sure if it's the Blitzkrieg or whatever.
It's hard, man. Like we were talking last night, like before you went to bed, like about just marketing in general, but like knowing what's effective, knowing what's useful, knowing what's worth your time, what's worth your input, everything is difficult.
Yeah, like I can agree on that.
Shit, you're a game dev. You got a lot on your plate. You got a whole game to make.
I mean, I see devlogs as a good thing, like to not only keep up your people, like gain attraction and so on, because it helps. Like, let's say I started from articles. I started from articles on IndieDB. Most of my things were just articles. Nobody read them, but they just passed through them. Like they didn't get like 200 views. And I realized, okay, what if I make them into videos? No matter what, they're gonna click it. So I was like, okay, wait a second, there's a fucking tractor going. So yeah, I was like, okay, let's do that. And then on IndieDB, I posted my videos, and then they started growing like 200 views. Like, it's not too much, but it's more than nothing, And then I slowly realized that it just not my time, not because of anything else, but because is just a week of progress. And when I started seeing how much I can do in a week, I realized how much time I was going to be wasting just, talking to about 200 people. And it's not like I don't have any kind of marketing. It's not like I'm just starting out. Like, it's basically I'm cutting the stuff that I actually don't need because I already have them. And most people think that the more publicity they have, no matter if it's YouTube or whatever, it's better. It is if you have followership on like Patreon, Kickstarter, stuff like that, because people expect you to do that. I don't have that much Patreons. I have like 2, and one was my friend, and another guy is one of my testers. And I keep up to date with my Patreon, like because just because why not? Like just put some stuff in, show them all the new cool stuff, and that's about it. Like I'm not going like full on blown out like doing devlogs every day, spamming my Twitter like crazy. And the one thing I've been doing like for a while was just getting all the like screenshot Saturday and stuff like that, where people show their game and stuff like that. I just stopped it, not because it's not good or anything like that. I just stopped it so I can just stash a lot of them, and then afterwards I can just post as much as I want. But yeah, I think most developers don't realize they have to cut some losses before they do anything else.
I think it's like difficult for anyone to really decide like what's worth their time, what's worth my effort. We talked about this also last night, where it's like most developers, and I would say indie developers specifically, don't value enough why marketing is important. There's so much that goes into it that they're just like, not important. I'll just like put my game out and I'll just see what happens. That kind of thing. And then they wonder why they don't get publicity. They wonder why they don't just get like recognized in it. And even like here, some people that were like angry about it. They're like, how come so-and-so gets people out of Realms Deep and I don't, or whatever. And it's like, well, you didn't put yourself out there. It's like dating. It's like, you're not going to meet a girl if you don't go outside and see girls.
Yeah, she's not just going to knock on your door.
Yeah, well, I mean, even if you're like, and I have my own personal reservation. I've been married for long enough to like not give a shit. I've literally never used Tinder or anything like that. I'm not saying that as like a judgment call on people who do or whatever. I'm just like that. I've never used any of that.
Yeah.
I got married before that was popular, and when people talk about that kind of stuff, I'm like, what? That's how you're finding girls? Like, like you don't just like walk up and talk to girls. Really? I mean, that's really how I feel. And I'm not, again, not diminishing. That's what people do, but like, I don't know. I don't personally have in my repertoire another way to talk to women other than just like walk up and talk to them. Like, hey, what's up?
No, I understand that. Yeah.
Like, it's so fucking weird to me that people just like swipe left on pictures or whatever. But the same thing applies to games. The same thing is like, how do you expect someone to want to play your game if you don't show it to them? Hey, what's up? This is my game. Enjoy it. Metal Neon is the ultimate. Talking about Waffle Iron Studios, like you can set your watch to Metal Neon talking about Waffle Iron Studios and Project Absentia and Scoot Hard DX and all that kind of stuff. It was like, all right, Metal Neon just showed up in voice chat. 90 seconds until we talk about Scoot Hard. Promise. Or less. Like,
but no, he's hustling. Yeah, he's hustling. I don't blame that. I think like there's a right way to hustle and a wrong way to hustle. Like, like just like anything in life, like there's a wrong way to do it and a good way to do it. And I think this kind of way is very direct, very like if you don't expect it, you'll be like, okay, I'll listen. It's like somebody knocking on your door trying to sell you something. Normally you're just going to close the door if you're used to it. If you're not, you're probably going to listen to them like for 2 minutes and then realize, oh yeah, I'm just going to close the door. And university is what they teach us, taught us. So is because we had to pitch our game to a company, and I realized that in university. So with my friends, we had to pitch it, and we started pitching it, and we talked and we played it, and so on and so on. And we what was it? There was a tactic where you have about 30 seconds to explain what your game is. 30 seconds. Imagine in that 30 seconds you have to explain what your game is. And normally, let's say if somebody says, what is Call of Duty? Most people say, oh, first-person shooter, etc. It's a war, what was it? War simulation. That's about it. A war simulation experience. That's the whole words you need to say. And you have to have some kind of thing like that. It's going to be oh yes, it is action-packed first-person shooter. That's about it. You don't really go further to it. But that's normally when you pitch stuff, to publishers, so on and so on. But normally, I would say it's a good, because normally the span of time of a person is really small. When they're gonna listen to you, afterwards they're just gonna start not sleeping, but they're not gonna listen to you. They're just gonna start thinking about something else. You have about 5 seconds probably to get somebody's attention, instantly, and hook him. And then afterwards, you have the other 30 seconds to finish anything you have to say. We practice the fuck out of that. Saying, fun, capture the flag, game, so on and so on. Bashings, we have some kind of stuff oh, bash, stun, and so on and so on to your victory. Some kind of catchphrase, they're going to remember. Also, we named our game, so they will remember it for sure. But yeah, there's a lot of those kind of things that you have to look into, and I realize it now when I'm in university. Not a year or two before I was in university. Before I was in university, when I was making my game, I was just like anyone else. Thinking, oh yeah, you just make a game, you don't really need to think about the pitching and the stuff like that, but it's important because when you make a Steam page, that's a pitch. Like it or not, that's a pitch. For everyone else, for everyone that's buying it, it's a pitch. So you have to be careful about that too. But yeah, I see why a lot of people are like, oh yeah, I'm just an indie, or I just finished computer science, I'm gonna go make a game, and then not fail miserably, but just they're not going to get the outcome they wanted.
I agree. It's very difficult for most people to really understand that you have a limited amount of time in front of an audience, whatever that is. And that could be talking to them in person, like a Shark Tank kind of situation, which is what you're talking about, where you're like, hey, I'm making a game, and it's a first-person shooter, and it has X elements. And you have 30 seconds to explain that. The average human attention span really... I'm saying this as a podcaster who does 3-hour podcasts sometimes, is only so far. And when you have something that's hey, this is a tweet, and it's 140 characters, and I have the off chance that you happen to see this in your feed of 400 people that you follow or whatever. Mm-hmm. It's the same thing. It better stand out. It better not be just it's as simple as not just text. Don't just text what you're saying. Put a picture in there that stands out amongst all the other pictures that they're going to scroll through. If you can, make a video that's going to and not just any video, a video that's oh, that's, and I mean 7 seconds, something short. A, that will upload in time, and B, that will be like captivating enough that they're like, oh shit, that looks cool. And so many people struggle with that. It's very difficult. It's very difficult not only for the audience, but for the marketer to say like, this is something that will actually get their attention. And when I say the marketer, I don't just mean like someone who's a professional marketer like myself, but someone who's and when I say I'm a professional marketer, I mean like semi-pro. I'm like, B League basketball at that. But when you're trying to get someone's attention, you really have to like do something that will captivate that little tiny segment of a moment that you occupy in their mind. It has to be so outstanding that they're not going to click on the next thing or scroll up or down or whatever it is on whatever website they're on. It's insane.
Mm-hmm.
It's so difficult to explain to someone who like doesn't give a fuck about it, because there's so many people who just like,
Well, I'm gonna say it's like I understand why, because like, if you're an indie dev, you're like, oh, I learned programming, or like, let's say if you haven't gone to uni yet, I've learned programming, I've learned modeling, I've learned animation, I've learned like everything, right? And then you're like, oh, well, now you're gonna have to learn marketing, and I'm like, oh my god, And for me, it's like, yes, I'm gonna learn even more, because that thing goes on my CV still at the end of the day. But those people are like, oh, just another thing to learn, They get really sad and upset about it. I'm like, just suck it up, do it. Like you made this project. Why are you gonna like sabotage your own project? Like almost like your child. Like you're just gonna sabotage your own child just because you don't want to learn one fucking thing. Like just don't do it, because that shows like that doesn't show any kind of character. And your skills have taken you like a place where your character is not capable of, comprehending right now. Because yes, you have programming, like you have programming skills, you have every skill you need besides like marketing, and then that means your skills have taken you a place where your character has to show. And well, when you've reached that point, that means you will change your character, like as yourself, and actually evolve a little bit more. Or you're just going to give up and then, crash everything you've done for 4 years, let's say, example.
And
yeah, go on.
I was just going to say, it's like very difficult to make people understand that once they get to that point, they have evolved. It's you're not just a programmer. You're not just an artist. You're not just a game designer anymore. Now you have to sell what you've made. That's what entrepreneurship is. It's not as simple as like, hey, I'm so and so and I made a game. It's like, if you to bring back the Shark Tank thing, you've got to go in front of a group of investors, and investors could just be customers. We'll even simplify it to that. You've got to be able to tell them like, my product is worth buying because of these reasons. And if your product, I've had multiple people on the show who are marketers who really broke this down for me. I'm making a retro FPS. Cool. So are everyone else who's, so is like a squintillion other people since Dust came out. Great. Who gives a fuck? Fuck you. I don't care. And I'm saying that as me. I care about that. But like, really, what makes it stand out? Tell me what makes it different. In your case, like, you came at me like right off the get-go, you're like, yeah, it's a retro FPS and it's influenced by Serious Sam and Doom, and it has some story elements that I think you'll really be interested in. And I'm like, that's enough. That's all it really takes to just be like, to make me ask why. Because that's what you really want, is what you want the person to respond. I'm like, okay, that's different. There's a lot of people making retro FPSs, but they're all like Quake, Doom, whatever. When you say Serious Sam, what do you mean? Well, you run backwards a lot. Why? Well, because the enemies are coming in swarms. Are they? Yeah, they definitely are. Yeah, and it's like, okay, so what's the story here? Why are they doing that? And you're like, well, it's this whole like angels and demons thing. Angels and demons? Tell me more. And you're just, and then you hooked me. You got me. Now I'm in. But it wasn't as simple as you just tell me it's a boomer shooter. Because there's a million boomer shooters.
Well, this kind of thing comes when I was little. Like when I was little, I used to like go to like a candy shop, and they give you like a little jelly bean, like not jelly bean, but like jelly bears package, right? And it's like a little, it's made out of paper, right? And you eat your jelly beans, and I look at the package and I say, "Oh, that looks like a great package." So I grab one of my old toys, I put it in, I seal it like with some glue, and then I sell it for let's say $1. Like, and I say it's a mystery toy, you know. And literally, like so many kids bought into it. Like that's when I was little, and I was in my village. Like, and it just, some kind of hook. There should be some kind of hook to your game, to your kind of say, to whatever you're selling. It should have some kind of hook that will make the person be like, that's interesting. But yeah, most people are like, oh, this is a retro shooter, or this is just a shooter, and they're not coming prepared. Like that's one thing. One thing university like taught me is document, plan, and do less, because you can do more time like working and stuff like that, but if you haven't planned for it and you haven't prepared for it, you're just going to be doing mindless shit. So you're going to go from whatever you're doing here, you're going to go to somewhere else entirely where you're not supposed to be. Everything by order, do everything by order. Like when I did that, my game time, like not only my game time, but the way my game is structured start taking a turn, because right now my first level is like 30 minutes, right? My second level is like 40. Then my other levels are like 10. Why? Because I saw that like if I did like every level like 40 minutes, there's no way I'm going to finish this game like in at least a year more. I was like, okay, so we need to cut down the time. And I was like, okay, well, our hook was anyways for the bosses. Like we have really we have like a lot of bosses. Like every level has a boss, like at least one. So like, okay, how do we manage it? Like, okay, so we have like arena, whatever, some kind of choke point where you battle demons, and then boss. And then I started from that structure every level, and then every level looked cooler and better, and the more I worked on them. But again, pen and paper. Like I think a lot of people don't think about that, and I talked like to the people like on Realms Deep this year, like just chatting with them, and then most of them are like, "Oh, I just realized that pen and paper exists." Basically, I'm like, "Yeah, like I know, I realized that like a while ago." But the thing is, that's because my uni taught me. So most people that say, "Oh, you can be an indie dev without going to university," like yes, but you're gonna miss a lot, like on a lot of stuff, and you're not gonna be ready for what is coming, because in the university they taught you like how to actually do like a lot of those kind of stuff. Like before you start even making a game, you sit down and then you write a design document. Everything. Like you want this many levels, you want this much, this, and that. Afterwards, you think about how much time it will take to do all this kind of stuff. And you're like, I don't have that much time. Cut down stuff. Let's say if something happens, if you're sick or whatever, and you don't have that much time, what can you cut off afterwards? What's your safe cushion, etc. What's the gameplay loop, and so on and so on. But I think a lot of people underestimate this kind of power that the design documentation does to you. Like right now, like in my group projects, when we did our design document, it was like a Bible for us. Like you look at it, if you're lost and you're like, what do I do today? You look at it and you're like, okay, this is my job. You take it to your Trello or whatever, your task manager stuff, and you start doing it. It's probably fucking a truck, but okay. So, and yeah, like most people underestimate like this kind of stuff. I don't know why. Like, and when you tell them like, oh, if my project is too small, I don't need a design document. Yes, but the thing is, it builds practice. It builds principles. When you have principles, like because doing a game will drain you out of willpower, no matter what. And when you don't have willpower and you don't have any motivation, you're dead. Like, and the only thing before you're dead is your principles, and and everything you've done until then, and build some kind of system for yourself. Because when my willpower and motivation dies, I have the design document just laying there. I'm like, yep. I've done this, and this, and this, and that. I have this and this and this to that. Like, and one of our teachers like said, okay, you need like a Trello, like where you basically check mark stuff. Like, oh, I have this task and I check mark it. Not because of anything else, not because you cannot do it on paper, not because you can not do it anywhere else, but because in the end of the day, nobody's gonna pat you on your back, like, and say, good job, good job, you finished this task. Nobody's gonna do that. Even if you're working in a team, even if you're working anywhere else. I do it because I think that's how I motivate my team. But when, that's for another project, that's not for Limitless Hunger. But when I'm working on this project and I'm totally fucking alone, there's nobody to do that. So you have to think about those kind of stuff.
I find that hard to relate to. Again, I think I mentioned this when we were chatting offline, but I don't need a lot of outside validation to motivate me, right? Like, I'm very self-driven. And I think there are certain other people in the game development community who are the same. They're like, I'm just going to do this just fucking cuz. And not because, like, look, I make a podcast about games. And if people didn't subscribe, listen, comment, or whatever, I would probably be really demotivated. But they have, and so I guess that might be my version of the Trello page to some extent. Because if I didn't see a growth, and it's not just like a numerical growth, it's like if Fred didn't message me to say like, hey, you want to do Realms Deep, that kind of shit. So I don't want to throw the baby out with the bathwater and say like I'm writing that off. That's a big part of it. But like I would easily just do what I'm doing because I feel it's important to do. To me, kind of thing.
No, I agree totally. I would say just for game development, it's important, not because anything else. Even if you throw out the motivation out, it's just to keep track of your progress, like to know what you did. Nothing else, like really, like. And again, the design document is there just so you don't overscope. That's the whole problem. People overscope shit, so you don't want them. Yeah,
I'm not throwing that out. I'm not saying.
No, I know. I'm just saying basically.
That my version of that is probably like YouTube and Captivate, not a Trello document. But like, I agree with you. I am agreeing with you. Having some sort of milestone that says like I accomplished that task is important for sure.
Yeah. Also, just not to forget. Happens. Yeah. I've forgotten so many stuff, like, and then I was like, okay, no, like I'm done. Like I'm gonna do like this and this amount of stuff like today, and I know what I'm gonna do because I've put it in my list of work in progress. So, but yeah, I can understand what you're saying. Like you're motivated by this. Like for me, like personally, if I were talking about motivation, I'm motivated by not being better than somebody, like not like even a company. Like if I go like, oh, I'm not better than Bethesda, and I'm like, that's unachievable goal. That's like 500 people plus at least against me. But when you set your standard that high, you try your best, and that means you're breaking new grounds, you're breaking new levels of what you're capable of. Yes, sometimes it's self-destructive, but you should know your limits sometimes. Well, I would say you should always, be limitless. You should always try to be limitless, at least.
I gotta say, like, to you specifically, that you are single-handedly the person who made me reconsider what I was doing and say I should be making games. I remember like it was yesterday, Realms Deep 2020. We were watching it together because it was all pre-recorded. All my stuff was pre-recorded. It won't be that way this year, but after it was over, I saw all the games and I was so inspired to like do something. I have to do something. And you like broke it down for me. Like, no, this is the market. This is what is accomplishable for an indie dev. Like, this is what you'll make this much money just off of putting it on Steam, period. That kind of shit. And it really it set my brain a turning, to like use the prospector term, a turning. And that's what got me to really put myself out there, because I always thought of myself as like, I'm not special. I'm not anything other than a game designer. I'm not even a game designer. I'm a podcaster. I can't do all of these tasks, but what am I good at? Well, I'm good at networking. I'm good at bringing people together. I'm good at knowing who's good at what. And so in the Keeps games that will be shown off at Realms Deep are partially, not even partially, like I could really just solely point to you to say, like, you were the one who made me understand I can do this. This is possible. This is a realistic goal that In the Keep can accomplish. And I can't thank you enough for that, man.
I gotta thank you enough for, just you being you and keep doing what you're doing. Because, if you haven't, you wouldn't be here. And I wouldn't be here. I'll be somewhere else. So. But again,
shit. We talked about that last night, like the series of events that leads up to.
Well, yeah, like of course, like if something happens, of course, it's gonna have some kind of effect, negative, positive, it doesn't matter, but it will have some kind of effect. And but yeah, like what I was gonna say, yeah, like don't think about that. Don't think like you're nothing or something like that. And I think that should apply for everyone, like listening to this is. If you want something hard enough to fight for it and, go day and night without it, like, you're just going to keep on doing that. Like, you're just going to keep on striving for that. Like, if you cannot sleep because of it, like, you're just going to be like, oh, I just wake up and start doing this. Like, that means you want this. And not only that, but don't think just because you're limited or you haven't learned something, it's too late to learn. Because like I have done so much shit, like probably before I became a game developer. I was a YouTuber, like I was a rapper, I was trying to be a musician, like I tried just hustling, like and so on and so on. Like it just a lot of stuff. Like you go through them. Like to be honest, like if I explain my whole life. Like most people say, "Oh, you ghetto," and suddenly you've become normal. I'm like, no, I'm just me. Like, and I choose what to be. Like, if I didn't have something, like my grandpa says, because like I live with a divorced family, right? Like, my family is divorced, and I was with my grandpa, and he was teaching me stuff, and I was really dying. Like I was dying in my fucking skin at that point because it was like 8 p.m. and so on and so on, and I was just dying in my skin at that point. And he's like, okay, so he just gave me this motivational speaks. He said, I know your family is divorced. I know you this and this and this and that, but if you didn't have something in life, make it, make it. And that's the only thing that drives me until today. Not for games, for everything in life. You want to do something, and you won't have it just because you didn't have it before, fucking make it. And that's it. That's the whole fucking thing. If you have the willpower, or not the willpower, but you have the intention to make it, and that dream becomes a target, and you set it as a target, it's not only a dream anymore, then you're going to pursue it no matter how far it is, no matter how big it is. You're just going to do it. Like for me, let's say my dream game is an MMORPG. That's the hardest genre ever. And everyone will fail. Like they say everyone is going to fail, and that's true. But the thing is, most people go straight for it. They go straight for their dream and they fail. You have to realize that to achieve your dream, you're going to do a lot of stuff you don't want, or you're going to have to do a lot of stuff that that will teach you. Yeah, that will teach you how to do that thing. And it's everything like that. I started simple. This game was supposed to be a deathmatch game, multiplayer. I was like, no, like let's go single player. Then I started designing it and so on and so on. And now we're here. You know, after those kind of years, I have even footage where the fucking game was just cubes, like with just like a pistol made of cubes, and that's it. Like, you know, it's you start from somewhere and you hustle your way to here. I don't suggest you do this. Like whoever listening, I've missed so much out of my school, like just because, like the school was corrupt as fuck. So like I wouldn't get a better grade even if I, you know, did something with the teacher. You know, nothing will happen. No, my grade won't go up. So I was like, okay, well, if my grade won't go up and they won't kick me out of school for not attending it, invest your time. Like when you know that you have this time and you're just wasting it, invest it somewhere else. What I did is basically I started learning programming, and then I got hard stuck. And then one guy was like, oh, I'm going to help you. He's from some kind of game company. He's like, I'm going to help you learn C#. And then from him, 7 weeks, like he was from New Zealand, 7 weeks, I didn't sleep normally because he was from New Zealand. And this is Bulgaria. So I didn't sleep normally. And I learned everything. And I remember it until today. And that's why I can teach like people like this kind of thing. And it takes drive and motivation. And not only that, but principles and some kind of promise to yourself that you're going to do this. And most people don't have it. I'm not sure why. Like maybe they don't have enough of the not motivation, but just life hasn't pushed them that far. For me, it was like, okay, well, if I don't do this, I won't do anything in life. Like,
I agree 100%. And it's very difficult to explain that to someone who doesn't understand it because they're just not there. I'm a big believer in determinism in terms of like, I don't believe in free will. I don't think that we have the choice to like just wake up one day and be like, oh, I believe in this. Not to say that you don't believe that I don't believe that. We have I'm making the choice today to make a good decision and do the right thing or whatever. I really do think that people are kind of defined by their circumstances they're a part of. And so if I talk to someone who like has all the tools, you are an excellent level designer, or you are an excellent musician. And these are specific examples based on people that I actually know. Like, you have all the tools to be really good at this, except the drive, except for the one fucking piece. And that piece is you really, really want it to the point where you're willing to do anything to make it happen. There are so many people who are talented but lack ambition. You know, and everyone knows someone like this. This is the classic, like, oh, he's a stoner and he doesn't, or whatever. Like, it doesn't matter what it is. Yeah, and like they just don't have that X factor that makes it all come together. Coming from the wrestling world, there are so many people I could point to who are like excellent, like the best wrestlers in the world. Like, they're so good. They understand how to do the moves. They understand how to tell the story. They don't know how to talk, or they don't know how to like market themselves or play the game to just like move up in the company enough to like be the star that they want to be. And without all the pieces, you can't be a 10 out of 10, you know? And then there are people who are like Hulk Hogan who lack completely. He's a terrible, terrible wrestler. He's a fuck you, you suck wrestler, to be honest. Like, doesn't know more than 5 moves or whatever. Like, he can't tell a story, but he's so ambitious on the microphone that he markets himself so well and has the backing of a company so much that he ascends to stardom simply based on charisma. And I'm saying to people who are like, well, he doesn't deserve that. Like, well, no. Stop for a second. You have all the skills, all the talent, all the things that you see in him or someone like him, and this can apply to game design as well. All the things that you see that they lack are true. You just need to be better than them at the one thing that they're good at, the one thing that they're better than you at. You need to figure out how to do that. And then you'll be on the top. But most people aren't. Most people are just afraid to like take that next step and to just really commit to it. They think they deserve something based on their talent. Like, no, you don't deserve anything. You deserve nothing unless you work for it. And if that's the one little factor that is keeping you from being what you want to be, do that. Or try to do that. You know, ethically. Don't be a sellout. Don't be a fucking punk about it. Try. Like, and for me, dude, I can't talk shit at all. I've just done exactly what I want to do for 2 years, and success is falling into my lap, and I'm so excited about it.
Yeah, no, like I am excited too. Like, it shows, like, how to say, when I started doing all this, and when I said, oh, a company started like taking interest in me, and so on and so on, you know, to my family, and so on and so on. Like, and now, like, I come back to Bulgaria after like 2 years of being in England, and I see like one really smart man said,
Did you
like,
eat any spotted dick while you were in England?
No.
I see you as a guy who likes spotted dick. That's all.
Spotted dick. No.
How's your
I just get drunk and it's good. It's not that bad. I'm just saving it for like some friends that are gonna come here. Because like I said, I have a whole house for myself.
I didn't mean to cut you off, but I just really want to know how is the whiskey?
Whiskey is really good. It's Glen Grant. There's 10 years, and has a award from the Whiskey Bible. You know, it's very good. So like I got it because I was gonna be like, oh, I'm gonna fly like in an hour. I'm going around the shops, and they said, okay, everything is duty free. Basically, it's normal prices, but there's some exquisite alcohol there. So basically, they're not taxing you for getting the alcohol in the airport, right? And I was like, oh, man. And I went to the whiskey expert. I'm like, okay, so, I want this and this and that. And he's like, okay, like, are you a beginner? I said, yeah, sure. He said, okay, this one is smoked. You probably won't like it because it's really strong. This one I saw like the Glen Grant. I never saw this kind of whiskey. It's like, okay, this like give me, and it's still really good. Like, it's a Scotch whiskey. And it's some kind of blend. I forgot about it, but yeah, it's really good for me, at least. And I started liking whiskey more and more when I was in England, just because of the variety. Like, well, here in Bulgaria, you probably will just get alcohol poisoning from fake whiskey. No, I'm not joking. Like, there's one called Black Ram. You probably will die because I think there was like a couple of poisonings. Like, I mean, there were kids because some people are buying it from, the corner shop, so they don't really think about their, age and stuff like that. It's stupid. But anyways,
I'm from the heartland of whiskey, man. Like, I'm from the southeast of the United States. So Jack Daniels and Knob Creek and Woodford and all, all the
good ones.
Yeah, bourbon is the drink of the time where I'm from. I'm not saying I'm a connoisseur. I'm really not. But, I know what good whiskey tastes like. because
Mm.
I grew up in the heartland of whiskey. But it's hard to for me, man. Whiskey tastes too good. It's too good. I can't drink it.
Mm.
It's a very rare and like once in a while kind of thing. I'm like, because when I sip it, that Irish comes out in me. I'm like, oh shit, this is heaven. and I have to like, kind of like, hey, Ty, don't do that. That's not good for you. But yeah, it's I get where you're coming from. It's like when
Yeah.
you're faced with this like giant selection of something, it's like, whew, this is so incredible. It's hard
Yeah.
to turn down.
Well, yeah, I was like, because I arrived at the capital and one of my friends was gonna meet me and we're gonna be together like for a week in the capital. Because he lives there. And I was like, okay, like before I go to my family, why not meet him like for a while? I was like, okay, why not bring some, some actual drink, some English drink? Because I can just come from fucking England like after 2 years of not meeting him and just have like nothing on me. It's like, it's not like the law, but Bulgarians are like that. Like if I go to you right now, I'm probably gonna export legally or legally doesn't matter. I'm gonna export some rakia like to you just because I have to bring some kind of piece of Bulgaria to you. And yeah, like that's the whole thing.
Yeah, gift giving is a big part. I don't think that's exclusive to Bulgarian culture. I think gift giving is like,
Oh yeah, no, gift giving is a big part. I'm just saying that basically,
human nature.
yeah, like we're really open up. Like at least when I went in England, they're really, really, I'm gonna say closed up. They don't really want to talk. They like their peace. They like their bubble. And suddenly, like somebody with my voice goes in the room, and they're like saying, "Why are you screaming?" I'm like, I'm not screaming. I'm talking normally. Like I'm talking normally. Relax. And then I got used to like just being a little bit lower, just for them, especially just for English people. Just being a little bit lower. And my girlfriend's like, "How do you have so many friends?" I said, "I don't know. I just talk to people." Like, what are you talking about? Like, I'm just talking to people. But what I was gonna say, yeah. So, like for games, or not for games, but just in general in life, like when you when you change yourself, the whole thing is. When I came back to Bulgaria and I've changed myself so much, and I realized, like, health wise, so on and so on, just progressing through life, it shows that if you change yourself, you're going to change your family or your circumstances around you. The circumstances should not change you. That's what I mean. Like, you should adapt to them, but they should not change you. You should change everything around you. And I think that's the way to think it, because if you're adapting to everything or just trying to, the circumstances are changing you, that means you're not going to evolve. You're not going to move forward. You're not going to progress. You're just going between the slides, nothing else. And there was this saying, like, I tried to change the world and I failed. I tried to change my country and I failed. I tried to change my town and I failed. I tried to change my family and I failed. Then after 50 years, I realized when I changed myself, I changed my family and my family changed the town and the town changed the country and the country changed the world. And
it's a very Jordan Peterson way of looking at it. I don't know if you even know who he is.
Yeah, I know Jorkins.
Like, and I'm not praising him like he's like the greatest scholar in the world, but
Yeah,
it's kind of his whole gimmick is this whole like, before you go trying to change your state, clean your bedroom, that kind of thing. And
start small.
And I agree with that sentiment. If nothing else, it's like if I think I'm gonna just like walk around giving advice to other people about what they ought to do with their life, I better have my life in check. I better be very confident that, like, if I'm going to give a relationship, if you went to a counselor, a relationship counselor, and they're telling you like what you ought to do with your marriage or with your, girlfriend or boyfriend or whatever. Meanwhile, they're going through a divorce. It just doesn't look good. And that's what we see with politicians all the time is like, well, he's telling me what I should do. He's spouting all these morals about, how we should treat the world and how we should interact with everything. And then yet he's like closeted gay and can't just admit to himself who he is, just be who he is. How am I going to trust that person to just be honest? Why would I take advice from someone who isn't real? That's one thing that I take really, I take pride in the fact that, if nothing else, I've been honest with the In the Keep crowd. Like, hey, yo, I like to drink and I like video games. And if you're not down with that, fuck you, suck it. And anybody who's not down with those two things, and I'm not saying they have to like to drink, or I'm not even saying they have to like video games, but if they're not down with the fact that, like, that's who I am, they're probably not going to go along with me. So we weed them out early. So if they can't understand those two things about me as a person, they're probably not going to like what I have to say about anything else. And if they can, if someone can just like accept those things, just up front accept, all right, well, those are the two fatal flaws of Ty. and and then say, like, but I look past that and I really like what he says about video games. Even better, that's fine. Perfectly fine to me.
No, yeah, like people should respect other people, like what they are or what they choose to be. But in normal cases, or not normal cases, but in most cases, not only family, but like just people around you won't, like, they need time. That's the thing. Like when you change yourself instantly, or when you change something about yourself, they need time to adapt about it. And they're going to be really protective over that. But if you keep exposing yourself and your new self to them, they're going to slowly grow. Like, because people are adaptive, even like it or not, people will adapt. Right? And I think that's the thing people should look forward. And not only that, but in games, let's say people should actually try to change themselves. And when they change or like add stuff, they should slowly add it to their arsenal so they themselves adapt to the new stuff. Actually, little by little, not big chunk bites, because it won't happen.
I mean, I can point to a specific example of something like that, where it's like, I grew up in the Southeast United States, and the culture is like food, right? Everybody eats. Cool. When you go to church on Sunday, and it's like there's a smorgasbord. It's like everybody's like trying to impress somebody else with, like, look what I fucking cooked. and I remember having this argument with my family. Thank you if you're all listening right now. But it's like, man, you're so skinny. You're so skinny. Why don't you eat more or whatever? And I'm like, well, I'm not trying to be rude, but like, I've changed this about myself. I don't want to eat so much that I'm fucking fat. I don't want to be morbidly obese. And I say that respectfully. I love my family, but like most of them are very big people, big fucking people. And they're like, and there's so much pressure. Like, well, we made you this, you better eat it or whatever. And I'm like, well, I know that, but like, I don't need more food today. I'm fine. Like I've had enough to eat, and I'm happy with my body the way that it is. And they're like, well, you're scrawny. Well, I'm not. Like, I'm normal sized, and you're really fat. Like, it's a problem. You should probably, like, I'm not trying to like lecture you on what you should eat, but like maybe like don't have the macaroni and cheese. And
yeah, I can get it.
But it's the same thing. It's like you have to slowly kind of introduce that to someone, because their first reaction is to, it's the same as marketing. People act on emotion, not on logic. And
Yep.
it's not a hateful thing towards any human being, because all people really interact the same way. I didn't make the decision to become a podcaster about the games that I'm covering because it was the logical choice. Obviously it wasn't, or else it'd be much bigger. It's like, I made it on an emotional investment. Like, I really care about this kind of thing. And so for them, it's like, I really care about the fact that I made you this dish that I really want you to eat. And I'm like, I really want to eat it. It looks good. I just had enough to eat. Like, what do you want me to do? I can't just shovel all this fucking food down and then hate myself tomorrow. And the same thing applies to games. I don't expect you to put more in your arsenal than what you can understand. I don't or comprehend or like ingest, really. I just want people to like find people like you who are like really resonate with them, you know? When they hear you speak, they're like, damn, Void Ink is like making exactly the fucking dish that I want to eat right now. You know? Like, Limitless Hunger makes me hungry. And you know what? I'm hungry right now. So I'm going to go download that game and I'm going to fucking play it. That's what I want from people. Not to like overindulge. Not to eat more than they want. You know? Don't play every game. Seriously, don't. Like,
Yeah.
don't
No,
neglect your fucking wife and your child because you spend all day playing video games. Play the games that are so good sounding that you can't possibly not play them.
I can agree.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Sorry,
now
I didn't mean to go on a whole fucking tangent.
no. I liked it, but yeah, like I can totally agree with everything you said. Nowadays, I would say people consume too much. And not only they consume too much, but they consume stuff they don't want.
Food?
Yeah,
You like how I made consumption about food because your game's called Limitless Hunger.
Yeah.
Free
I
porn.
can
Free
yeah.
porn right there.
I wish it was good at. But yeah, like people consume media, and not only media, but let's say about games, like games in general. They consume what's trending. It may not be good, but if enough people not like it, but they think they like it, then you think you like it too. And I'm like, no, that's not how it should work. I think everybody should have their own personality. And I know normally you will not have a totally original personality. You will not adapt, but you'll still get some from somewhere, etc. You're gonna get something from your grandpa or whatever, like, and so on and so on. But nowadays, people are so indulgent in the social media that they start getting all the hate, all the things like that. They start being like a mob, and it's kind of sad because that means big markets, like big companies, can dominate markets easily. Like, and the little guys, like the little indies that, again, some of them don't even want to market. And the ones that market may not have enough hustle to outperform the big companies that actually put out money. But yeah, like I would say, yeah, like think about what you consume and think about how much you're going to consume.
And think about what you're putting out there. Like, is what I'm putting out there worth someone wasting their time on? And I say waste not in a negative sense. So like, is what I'm making worth someone else's time?
Yeah, that's true. Like, most people say, if I played this game, would I have fun? And most game developers say yes, because it's their game. They're overprotective. But if I put them, as not the developer, if there was somebody else, like, they would say no. Like, this is not worth my time. And that means you have to go to the drawing board again and again. And normally, yes, you can overdo that too. But again, there's always the fine line, and that's why games are paid so much to make, or not only that, but they get so much money. Is because it's so much stuff connected together, barely connected together. Like, because if you're an indie, you won't know everything. You won't be specialized in everything. So you're connecting everything together, trying to make sense of it. And then if you succeed, you get actually, you get success. But I think you always should think more about, how to make your game fun, enjoyable gameplay loops, so on and so on. But most importantly is like you have to hold something dear to you, basically, about this game. It has to be like, I'm gonna say, let's say games for me were a safe haven. Like my life wasn't that good, so let's say games really helped me cope with it. And I see me making those kind of games help other people, basically comprehend their life, try to like have a little bit of fun time, something that actually helps them, and that's why I'm not blowing the fucking price. Like, I'm not thinking about like a big ass price. I'm not thinking about the money. I'm thinking about, I'm going to put this out. Yeah, I'm going to get it on my CV and so on, like with the pluses. But one guy will definitely play this game, even if it's a Russian bot. Like, he will play this game and he will have, he will get some Steam cards or whatever, but he will have fun because he gets them, So for him, it's going to be profitable. He's going to enjoy himself. So any kind of dopamine that is going to be gone from the game is worth my time.
It's difficult to make people understand where you're coming from, and it's equally on the other side of the conversation difficult to express what you're trying to say. Like, because games are art, and games are self-expression on the part of the artists themselves, the people who are making it, and that could be a collective thing or it could be a solo thing. In your case, mostly a solo thing. Trying to express yourself to another group of people is an opening of your soul, really. It's like, hey, look at me. Look what I'm going through. Look at what I'm talking about. How do you represent that? How do you make someone else think that what you have to say is worth talking about or worth spending their time on? That's so difficult. It's so hard to like really make them understand it, because they can't possibly, unless they choose, because of how good your marketing is, to decide that it's like, okay, I'm gonna spend my $15 or whatever on Steam or on Itch or on GOG or whatever to say, I care about what you have to say enough to they're taking a risk. Every single person who buys a game, even if they play the demo or whatever, they're taking a risk. They're saying that this is worth my investment to try to experience what you're trying to sell to me, what you're trying to tell me. Is a communication problem. It's like, and you have to be really good at communication in order to get that across to anyone. They're saying, I resonate so much with what you had to say and the limited media that told me that I should buy this game, that I agree with it and I am willing to put my money on the line, and money in this case meaning for most people hard work and or my parents' hard work or whatever.
Yeah, somebody.
I'm putting my time and investment into what you have to offer, because it seems, based on the marketing I've seen, to resonate with who I am as a person. That is insane. That is so many hoops to jump through for anybody, not just for you, not just for anybody who's playing games, but like for whatever product it has to be. If that's a car, or if it's a jewelry piece, if it's a fucking aftershave, who gives a shit? Whatever product it is, they've got to feel so strongly after seeing your advertisement that they really want to put their whatever you're asking for. That could be a little bit or a lot. It's got to feel that much that important to them. They're willing to like exchange that value in order to potentially experience something that they feel will be good for them. How can you possibly, and you're the fucking expert because you went to college like a little bitch, and you know, how do you convey that to a person? How do you make them understand it?
How to make them understand like what you feel in the game, whatever. Well, that's why I'm gonna backtrack like to what we talked offline. Is basically, like people self-insert in their game, like it or not. Like they self-insert really hard because it's part of them a little bit, because you're doing this for 4 years. It's gonna be part of you, and the game, you're gonna put so much your own reference into it. So how do you convey, like, how do you put out the whole feeling, of your life, etc.? Most people tell their story of their life in their games, even if it's just a shooter. Like for me, my shooter tells part of my life, it's not.
I know it does.
Yeah, it does, like really a lot. But again, it's that kind of thing, that kind of marketing, putting it out. And like you said, people think with their feelings first, not with their logic. And that's how we are built, because our feelings are actually our instincts. So what you put out, like in the market kind of way, it has to be, dramatic. It has to convey some kind of maybe sorrow, maybe excitement, etc., etc. But it has to be a little bit more part of you. If it's some corporate fuck doing it, like, you can tell when somebody is just doing it, like, somebody that doesn't have any kind of feelings towards this game, doesn't really care how it's processed. He just grabs the videos, beats them in fucking Sony Vegas or whatever, like it'll be, and then puts it out. You can really tell because of the way they do it, and what they show also, because there is like a whole template, of how to make a trailer, how to make this or that, and I would say to convey as a game developer, like as an indie, like, because I'm not a company, I cannot tell you like how to do that. I'm a company by law, but I'm alone. So alone, like the only way I think you should convey this, like, or should convey your feelings and whatever, is through showing them through gameplay. Like the gameplay should show like how you're feeling about it, because if you're putting yourself in the game basically as a person, that means you're putting feelings into the game. You're putting the gameplay loop is based on your feelings, and it will show. It will be hyper aggressive or hyper normal, or it's gonna be really sad and so on and so on. And I'm gonna say it will show. It will show. It doesn't. You don't need anyone. Like if it's made from emotion, it will convey emotion, like it or not. So it's kind of you do you, but you have to a little bit more expose yourself towards the world. You can't just make a game and say, "Oh, this is my feeling in the game," and not promote it at all. Like that's the whole thing. Because when you're promoting, you're not promoting just your game. You're promoting your feelings, your everything. So a little bit more, like you have to show yourself, and that's why many people probably don't like doing that, because it's basically admitting that they're weak, that they have feelings, that so on and so on. And that's why most people don't want to do it, because that shows somebody else that you're not strong in this and this kind of position. And that's why most people are really careful when they do trailers, when they do when they post something on social media, because they don't want to put too much that somebody can use it. But the thing is, I would say, if you're worried about that, if you're worried that you're gonna put too much and you're gonna show too much, or you're gonna show too much of yourself, then I would say just do it anyways, because then you're gonna grow as a person. You actually stop giving a fuck, and when you actually stop giving a fuck, people, I'm gonna say, people that actually are your enemies will fear that, because they're like, okay, well, we cannot affect them in any kind of way. What now?
Because once you've shown who you are, once you've shown all your cards,
It's like a self-diss track, yeah.
it's like, oh shit, what am I? Once you said like, I'm vulnerable, and I mean it, and I'm not ashamed of it. What are they going to attack you about? It's like coming out. Let's say you were gay, right? And you're like, I'm gay. What are they going to attack you about now? What are they going to say? Like, oh, you like to suck dicks. Yeah, I just said that.
Yeah.
Come up with something better. You know, like once you're free, you're free. Once you've said what you like or how you feel or whatever, it's like, yeah. I remember really distinctly there was a guy in my high school named Lamar who was a gay guy. And he just came out and was like, I'm gay. Cool. And then, people were like, oh, you're a fucking whatever. And like you suck dicks. And he's like, yeah, I do. And I like it. And that's not what you're doing. And they're just like, what are you going to do about it? Like, you can't shame him. You can't shame him anymore. He's invulnerable. It's like, it's not something he's hiding anymore. He's just a strong motherfucker. He's like, I like sucking dicks, and I like when other dudes suck my dicks, and fuck you if you don't like it. And so you can't. Once he's said it, once he's come out about it, you can't make him feel bad about it anymore. It's not shameful because I like it. It's good. Like, and the same thing applies to anything, and not just that, but like, if you're like, this is the game I'm putting out, this is the reason I'm putting it out, because I feel strongly about these values, these things that like really apply to me as a person. No one can fault you for it or make you feel bad about it anymore because you're honest about it. Honesty is everything. Honesty, like just being yourself is everything. And that's what you said, to some extent at least. No, I didn't mean to compare Limitless Hunger to sucking dicks, but like, same thing, really. Who's going to judge you for making the game that you want to make the way you want to make it? If you just tell them up front, this is what I want to make. Like, I want to make a game that's about, it's Serious Sam, it's Doom, it's running away from enemies, it's blasting them in the fucking ass. It's got heaven and hell features. It's very, in your case, very, very much like, we can revisit this a little bit later, but like philosophical, and maybe that comes from a deeper place. It's not just simply biblical, but like it has a moral standpoint that perhaps comes from a place that is like not usually talked about in a quote normal public sense. Once you've said that, once you've like just gone out and like, this is what I fucking think, who's going to tell you otherwise? What are they going to do? What can they do other than just be like, I don't like the way you think. Cool. Don't buy my fucking game. Suck it. I love you, but like,
yeah, it is like that. You cannot stumble over every egg while making an omelet.
all right, so like, I guess the next topic that is really pressing against me is like, because we talked about so much so far, but with Limitless Hunger, this game has so much to say philosophically that you're not letting on to. It's not just a game about like, it's not just a Serious Sam clone, it's not just a Doom clone, it's not just a first-person shooter. You're actively trying to tell a story, though you don't let on to it too much. And it involves angels and demons and Cerberus and like just diving into the depths of everything. Why is that so important to you?
Why is it so important to me? It's all just how I'm gonna say. I would say that really shows like how I think about life, or not like how I think about life, but how people should go through like literal hell, and then realize that, you know, even if they go through hell and back and forth, and then afterwards they see the light, but not all, like there is no light. Like the only light is what you make. You know, nothing is. I'm gonna say, at least for me, I would say nothing is gonna fit with you. You fit with everything, and you change it. And that's the whole story I'm conveying. But like through all the sins and stuff like that that's in the game and with demons, it shows like that some of those stuff like are actually true. Like sure, the Bible talks about them and stuff like that, but like you can see them, like, because in the game itself, it's shown, those sins are shown like in how they're modern, like their modern way of those sins. Because before it was, let's say, you know, lust, which is whatever. Well, now it's like, you know, lust in back in the days, basically just sleeping with a lot of women, or like with a lot of men, whatever, or cheating and stuff like that. But nowadays, it's, you know, that and porn addiction. Let's say, you know, porn addiction is a big thing, I would say, and I've realized that like a while ago. I was like, okay, I know what to tell. I know what to show now, you know, in my game. And I was like, and I got over it. You know, I got over porn addiction because it was really like actually damaging myself and my relationship. It just awful. And I had friends go through that, and I saw how self-destructive that is. I'm like, no, this has to stop. Or, you know, and this is just one example. There's many of them, you know, there's many of things, but this is just one prime example. It just shows that it's more than, you know, just the game. The game is built upon my feelings, my understanding of the world, and so on and so on. And I think when you take something so surreal, so real, and then you put it in the game, people will understand that, because, you know, again, it conveys those kind of feelings, and it's in that kind of way that, you know, you're just going through that.
No, your game really does a good job of like confronting people with what their sins are, whether that be violence or, you know, with lust city as part of it, or with hunger. Like, I mean, like Limitless Hunger speaks so many volumes, because hunger, the word itself in English at least, lends itself to so many different things. You know, it could be your hunger for violence. It could be your hunger for lust. It could be your hunger for greed. It could be, or for money in that regard. So many different things about our, you know, Western culture that it just hits right on the head and confronts the player with. You know, right off the bat, your game confronts you with like a burger stand. Yeah. And it's like, do I take this? Do I have to indulge? And you have to. And it's like, I have to indulge in this. What does it give me? What is my benefit from this hamburger? And it's like, well, you get to go really fast. All right, well, I do. And what is the benefit? And it's certainly beneficial for a short portion, but it's a limited, not limitless thing that you have to like use to your benefit. And that's not to diminish our worldly values or things that we want, but like, does it really benefit you in the long run? And your game does such a good job of just making you confront that. Is it important or not? Is this ammo important or not? Is this enemy being dead important or not? Can I just get past it? Can I just run past it? I don't know.
But yeah, like the thing is, feelings are very important in life. And not only that, but I'm gonna say understood that many people allow their feelings to take control over them, and then we are emotional, but you have to discipline your emotions, not because it's you should not party or stuff. No, not that's what I mean. You should discipline them. You should know when to say no to them. Just because they're your emotions, they're your instincts, they're the first thing you feel. So you have to know how to make a safeguard for them. Because in caveman world, we would be okay because those feelings are made for that. But we're not in caveman world, and that's why we have so many problems in our lives, and we go through so many stuff in our lives because of the way our emotions work. And not only that, but some feelings can be used as fuel for you. Like you can fuel your desires, your emotions, your perspectives. Like let's say wrath is probably you're angry, you feel anger, and it's pure anger. There's nothing behind it. There's no I want to kill somebody or I'm just angry at something. No, you just feel anger. You feel like, mostly for me, like in my life, when I fell down, when I really know that I cannot do this, or like it's really hard for me to do this, and understanding how many people depend on it and stuff like that, it just you're sad. Most people get sad and that's it. They cry themselves to sleep and that's it. Next day, they do the same thing. Well, for me, I just get angry. Like I get really fucking angry about it, and then like just motivation just peaks like a lot. Like motivation, willpower, anything, and just peaks, and you start doing it harder and more and more. It's like a second wind, almost, you can say. It's like, and I understood that basically you can use your anger and your emotions to your own benefit like that. But there's some emotions you should know how to discipline them, because this kind of thing that I'm doing can be self-destructive, and I've seen people being self-destructive over it. But yeah.
Do you think that you're religious?
No.
No?
My grandpa is literally was a communist. He's dead, but he was a communist. Like the whole story is that he basically stole the bell of the church in this village. Wow. That was the funniest thing I've heard. Like, imagine just stealing the bell. Because back in the day, not a lot of people were communist yet, so they wanted to convey a message, so they stole the bell. And normally, I don't think I'm religious because I just grew up in that kind of way. Like, praying to God didn't help. Like, praying or whatever, just praying to anything didn't help. So why bother? You're just wasting your time at this point. Just go do your own thing. And I've read one like the 21 rules of Miyamoto. He's like a Japanese swordsman, like a duelist or something. And he was a Buddhist. And one of his rules is believe in Buddha, but don't ask for help, basically. So you can be religious, you can believe in God and so on, but don't ask for help from it because you won't receive. No, that's about it. And I think that really conveys. So I'm not religious, nor I believe in God, but people that are, I respect them because they're holding to something, And if they don't, just think that, God will give them everything and God will explain everything, well, then that's their own thing. Like if they fail or whatever, that's their own fault. But yeah, that's my whole argument about, not even argument, just statement about religion.
It's crazy because your game is so deeply embedded in the Christian zeitgeist, right? It's so structured upon what they believe in that it's hard to believe that you don't find. It's okay if you don't believe in God or Jesus or whatever the fuck, but your game really dives deep on what their values are, and that's what I'm getting at. Is it has nothing to do with whether or not you believe literally in in their deity or in their belief system or whatever. It's just simply, is there wisdom to be found within what they have to say? And in Limitless Hunger, it's just like so obvious that you draw some influence from that it's hard to believe that you don't have any respect for where they come from. And I know you're not saying that you don't. Obviously, you said you did. But what a strong message to convey without any proprietary belief in where it comes from.
Yes, I don't believe in it, but like I'm gonna say, I think religion was structured upon morals, not only morals, but a specific rule set for life.
Right.
And I don't see, I see religion as a rule set. I don't see it as actually a god, deity and so on. I see it as a rule set. And of course, if you just say, oh, this is the rules, you're not allowed to rape, like, in caveman world. Why would they believe that? Why would they say, oh yeah, like, yeah, sure, unless you have something to back up with it, like if you can kill them or whatever, they won't believe in that. But until then, they said, oh, well, there's some god up in the heaven or whatever that's watching over you, and if you fuck up, he's gonna fuck you up, basically.
I don't think that it's about whether or not God disagrees. I think it's about whether or not it has negative consequences in your life. So, like, if you go around...
Yeah, that's what I mean. It's a rule set. It's literally a rule set. And God is there just to be that invisible guy that you have fear of, like, and respect. Fear, respect, basically. Which I totally understand. But yeah, like that's what I think about religion. It's just a rule set which shows, like, how you can behave and so on and so on. And I think games, like, at least for my game, it does that because everybody knows the Bible. Everyone knows about Christianity. Like, not everyone, but like a lot of majority know about that. They know about the sins. They know about so on and so on. And the message is easily conveyed through that. You don't need to think about it. You don't need to process it and read a paragraph of text or some kind of what are those called? Story. Not they're not even story games. You just click through the fucking thing where you just talk to the characters and stuff like that. And you need to get some kind of messages, and you have to read, like those anime games, whatever. Like that's really boring. That's not showing the emotions. Like, well, one thing that I really liked, and I probably have gotten inspiration from, is the way Far Cry 3 showed the emotions of the character, how he changed, how he became this monster because he killed so many people and so on and so on. And and it just shows that the character has changed, and like it or not, you have changed too, because you've done this. You are the character, whether or not. And I think many games do that too, and should take a note from that, like to show how the character changed, or to show the emotions around them changing, making the player feel those kind of stuff. Because you can't just have room to room that just you kill stuff and then you move on, then you kill that and then you move on, and so on and so on. You have to even if it's just one line from a boss that it's so cryptic, it's still better than nothing.
I agree. Like, it's a determining factor. You have to kind of decide for yourself. You have to make a. And Far Cry is a really good example, because it's you're faced with the situation where you're inevitably going to end up facing your quote your sins, and lots of games have done that. Betrayal at Condor does that. A great example, like a modern example, would be Undertale, where it's do you really feel good about killing all the people that you killed upon the way? Because it actually mattered in the outcome of the game. You know, you could have done it differently. You could have played the whole game and not killed anyone. It's not the obvious way to play the game, but it's an option to be a pacifist and to be like pure, quote unquote. But the way that you're meant to play the game is to just like experience it, play it, do what you would do naturally, and then be faced with the consequences of your actions. And that's what's so cool about Undertale specifically, is that no one, unless they're like attempting to know, probably knowing what's going on beforehand, understanding what's lying for them at the end, no one makes it through perfect. Almost no one. If you're that kind of person, like, and I'm not saying it's even the right way to live life all the way, you know, it's easier in Undertale than it is in real life. But to not harm other people is a very difficult thing to do. And that game perfectly illustrates how difficult it is to lead the life of someone who is just like, I'm not going to hurt anyone. That's not what Limitless Hunger is about, obviously. It's at all. It's about taking matters into your own hands and doing what you have to do in order to prevail. And I think it's probably a more realistic point of view on life, because you can't really just be a pacifist. Some people think you can. And you could be a pacifist up to a certain extent, but you can't really just say, I'll never step in, I'll never help, I'll never be part of what's going on with other people. That's part of what Undertale does wrong, and in my opinion, is that it doesn't take into account, it's never defense of another human being, and that's what makes it very difficult. Would I do this in my own name? Who gives a shit? Would I do this in the name of another person who I care deeply about? Totally different thing. The Witcher 3 really plays with that. You know, like, make decisions based on what other people might think of you. But I think both games pose an important question in terms of, like, what is moralism? What is being a good person? It's up to you, the player. And that's what makes a good game to me.
Yeah, like I can tell. Well, yeah, like I can totally agree with that. Games are conveyed by emotion, and you know, questioning the player's emotions is crucial, I would say. And that's something I don't see quite often nowadays, even, because it's basically, oh yeah, we just have Star Wars, let's say, some Star Wars game. You know, there's no emotion anymore. They just profit. And yeah, and that's what I mean. Like, emotion will cause emotion. And yeah, but if you're seeking profit, you will not cause any kind of emotion. You probably will cause anger at best.
Or worse.
And that's still an emotion, but that's not good.
Dude, it's been really great talking to you. It's been great catching up with you. Like, you are such an important part of what this podcast ended up being, and will probably continue to be for at least as long as I'm around. What's up, in the Keeples? I hope that you enjoyed that wonderful conversation with Zdravko. He's always super fun for me to talk to, and someone that I try to keep in touch with all the time. But hey, Realms Deep season is upon us. We are only weeks away. I am working my hands to the bone over here, and I'm loving every second of it. Kind of. But no, it's going to be fucking epic. Definitely make sure you tune in. The officially announced dates are August the 13th through the 15th. August 13 through 15. Make sure you tune in. I will be there, and it will be fucking epic. I promise. So many cool games, so many awesome things. If you're out there listening and you're like, how do I support In The Keep? All you gotta do is head over to inthekeep.com/support. All of our stuff's on there, our Patreon page is there, and I'm gonna take a moment now to say thank you to all of the wonderful people who decide to give to us for some odd reason. So, Shannon, Ben, Bridge, Anthony, Mike, Zan, Lord Revan, Fred, Brandy, Jack, Robert, Graceless Dragon, Red Eyes, Brad, Dots, Moose, Paul, the whole Flam fam, and of course to our awesome musicians, who always give us music to play, Igrok Salmon and Immorpher. Now, the music that you're hearing this week is actually from the original soundtrack to Limitless Hunger. So enjoy it. I love you. The Drowned God Kathala loves you. And until next time, stay in the keep.